So a lot of Americans don't want to have to look at that and say that like the problem is the American empire. Because even if you could get Israel tomorrow to have a completely different government that would want something else, I promise you this scenario continues. I've been down this road before, but now What's going on, people? It's your man Big Foe. So I'm back at it again because it seems that everyone on the internet has fallen for the same okie doke. Doesn't matter if we're talking progressives, far right, actual Nazis, independent media, influencers. Among all these varied groups, there is a consensus of one thing.
Israel controls our government.
That Israel controls America. Possibly you're one of them. So I'm creating this video today to disabuse you of that notion. Whether your issue is foreign aid, the Epstein files, whether it's the experts of the Israeli lobby, we're going to go through the best arguments and challenge some of them on the way. So first we're going to lay out all the best examples of all those arguments. Then I'll give an alternative explanation that I think better aligns with the facts that we know. And then we can compare the two frames and see which one better explains the chaos that we're seeing today. So the arguments I hear the most relate to money. Now we can break money into basically two categories, lobbying and foreign aid. So let's start with foreign aid. The number that's thrown around often is 3 billion. And if we look at the top countries that the United States gives foreign aid to, you can see that yes, Israel is high on the list, but you can see that they're not as high as, say, Ukraine. But no one's necessarily saying that Ukraine is controlling America. But this 3 billion number is a big issue. The one thing that is important to note about that 3 billion is that a loan is being given from America to Israel, and Israel is buying American weapons with that money. So it's kind of similar to how the petrodollar works. We promise in the West to buy oil from the OPEC countries, and they agreed to put the money in Western banks. So these kinds of arrangements are par for the course. The other element with respect to money is lobbying. So many argue that the Israel lobby, as Professor John Mearsheimer coined the phrase, controls the American government. If you look at a list of lobbying organizations, etc., you're going to find that the Israel lobby is nowhere near the top. You're going to see that the top of the list is held down by the military industrial complex, weapons manufacturers, etc., banking, financial interests. This is what's at the top of the lobbying list.
In a candid way. Do you understand why it seems like you're echoing like an old anti-Semitic plot about the control of the Jews in the mystery about the United States?
I am not echoing anything. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating what I know to be true because I saw it and the people involved stated it out loud without shame. The Israeli prime minister pushed the U.S. president, who turned out to be far weaker than I understood, into a war that hurts the United States.
They're terrified that there's going to be an unlimited money faucet of attack ads that they will be receiving, and they don't want to say anything. So if you're wondering how this shit works, right? If you're wondering how, Israel is such a uniparty position, well, here it is. This is how it happens. It happens in the off season. It happens when you're not paying attention. It's not because of some like Jewish mind control or whatever. It's because all of these fucking groups that cynically call themselves like Jewish advocacy groups, even though they are singularly focused on Israel and Israel's ambitions.
But really, the Israel lobby is representing the government of Israel, right? So even if that weren't the case, it's still a case that the Israel lobby is representing the government of Israel. They lie and they pretend like they're not. It's like, oh, no, this is just Jewish Americans representing. That's a lie. That's bullshit. That's not true. But here he's trying to say, since you criticize the Israel lobby, isn't that by definition anti-Semitic? Because like it's all Jews who fund it, which again, as I said, is factually wrong. But that's the argument he's trying to make.
But is it strictly true that you always differentiate between the Israeli government and the Jewish people? I believe you said Israel controls the American government through donations to 94% of Congress. But those donations aren't from the Israeli government. They're from individual Jewish people living in the United States. As I understand American election law, governments aren't allowed to donate to political parties. So actually, you do sometimes conflate the Jewish people and the state of Israel, and that is prima facie anti-Semitic.
You know, you just made that up on tape, right? Like I said,
no,
Israel.
No, I've got this quotation
hold on,
from
let me
you.
finish. You asked, you did a very serious charge, so let me answer it. I said Israel. You quoted me as saying Israel.
I
then
did.
You said, hold on. Then you said no, but you meant Jewish people. Why? I didn't say that. You said that. Are you an anti-Semite? I'm worried you're an anti-Semite. Why did you say Jewish people? Jewish people don't actually support this current Netanyahu government. Did you know that? 63%. Hold on.
What you
63% of Jewish Americans,
which I read out correctly, is that Israel controls the American government through donations to 94% of Congress.
Period.
Jewish people donate to congressmen. The Israeli government does not. So you have conflated. You've said Israel controls. You're meaning Jewish people control. You know that perfectly well.
You're putting words in my mouth. You're literally, and people can see it with their own eyes and hear it with their own ears.
Tell me,
words in my mouth. You want me to explain what actually happens in America?
On what legal basis does the Israeli government donate to 94% of American congressmen?
No, the Israeli lobby. Now,
but if you restrict it to campaigns, specifically to campaigns, political campaigns, then you will find that, in fact, the Israel lobby, quote unquote, is disproportionately influential. Restricting just the political campaigns, including attack ads and everything else that you can imagine, PAC, anonymous donations, whatever you want to say. As far as political campaigns, there's no question, they're correct to say that the quote-unquote Israel lobby dominates. But it's what's read into that that's the problem.
So Trump himself has talked about the extreme power of not AIPAC, but pro-Israel, the pro-Israel lobby. And I should also add to this, like sometimes I think people trying to pick this view about the pro-Israel lobby being extremely powerful as some kind of weird fringe conspiracy theory on the internet, similar to like 9/11 theories or JFK things where people just debate in this conspiracy world. I can show you statements from endless numbers of people who ran the government, like American presidents or people who got very close, who talked. I mean, there are all kinds of tapes with Richard Nixon talking about how the Jewish lobby in the United States is trying to dictate and often does dictate his foreign policy. He said the same once he left in interviews. Barry Goldwater, who was the conservative hero who was nominated in 1964, in an interview in 1988, basically went on and on and on. And he was Jewish, Barry Goldwater, about how Israel and its loyalists in the United States run American foreign policy.
Next, we have Epstein, the alleged Mossad agent, foreign intelligence agent. Not everybody agrees exactly what foreign government he was working for. So this is often also cited as evidence of Israel's control of America via Epstein. An issue with this is that nearly all the evidence that we see from the Epstein files is actually demonstrating that Epstein has control over Israel, right? This American oligarch, we'll say, right? It's him that's connecting the Israeli prime minister with Putin. Or it's him that's bringing in the banks like JP Morgan to kind of end American interests, to subvert the Israeli law, to get certain things built, like I think it was an oil field or something that they were developing. You have these outsiders, Americans, that are influencing Israelis, right? So like if you were an Israeli, is it possible that you would think that America was controlling you? But who he was working for was definitely still a question, right? Because under whose supervision was he taken out? Right? He was taken out under American supervision. So if he is this powerful Israeli proxy that's in control of America, how does America have the power to just take him out? If you follow the Epstein web, it leads to Western oligarchy. But we'll get to that. Next, we have stupid forever wars and the discontinuity between that and what the people who promote this would perceive as or conceive as the perceived interests of American citizens.
Where the public can very clearly say one thing: no more money and no more weapons to Israel. We want a ceasefire. We want a two-state solution. And all of those things totally brushed aside, totally ignored, viewed now as like a fringe position, even though it's the mainstream position. But your average Joe and your average Jane is not taking AIPAC-funded trips to Israel. Your average Joe and your average Jane is not taking millions of dollars for their campaign from Israel. And by the way, now, with that bill Congress recently passed, they would categorize these basic factual descriptions that I'm giving you. They would say, oh, that's anti-Semitic.
From the perspective of an American citizen, the war in Iran is a stupid war that's gonna bring up the debt and cause all kinds of financial hardship and social hardship, etc. So I assume for America to be going down that road, they would have to be being controlled by some foreign power. It's required that Israel is brainwashing, say, America to do all these things that seem to be against the interests of its citizens. A side question would be, since when does America do what's best for its citizens? A lot of it, I would say, is based on revisionist history, trying to rewrite the lead up to and the execution of the war on terror, framing that as a Netanyahu plot. I assume absolving Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld and all those ex-CIA guys that had their own new American century doctrine. I guess we're absolving those guys. But General Wesley Clark, who was a guy that I definitely had respect for, I assume I still do, but it's words that are attributed to him that are helping or fuel this kind of revisionist history about why America went to war in Iraq after 9/11. There's no denying that Benjamin Netanyahu has been advocating for many of these wars since he's been in the political world. No one can deny that. There's so much evidence of that. He's a meme at this point.
Produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away.
So it's General Wesley Clark and other military credentialed individuals, many of whom were Trump supporters, heavy Trump supporters, and have egg on their face today. So they need to justify their analysis proving to be so faulty.
Nor should any American, to be honest. Just to be frankly honest, no American should vote for Kamala Harris. Because I don't care what your issue is. I'm a woman. I believe in women's rights. Yay, you're going to be dead. You're going to be dead. It won't matter. You won't be able to have the abortion you want to have because you won't reach your trimester because Kamala Harris is going to get you killed in a nuclear holocaust. Donald Trump may very well do the same, but at least there's the I am Iron Man moment where he might, 1 in 14 million, get us out of it.
So they're going to jump right in on it's actually because the government is controlled by Israel. Now, this is not a defense of any actions of the Israeli government, of any of their politicians, of how they're prosecuting the war, or whether or not it's a genocide. None of that is being addressed here. Remember that the main point here is just whether or not Israel controls the United States. Now, it is possible that all of that proves that Israel controls America, but it's also possible that all of that proves that America is a global empire.
Peace.
I've been down this road before.